We begin with a quick look at the day's top national headlines. A U.S. Army veteran is accused of plotting terror attacks in Southern California. Prosecutors describe Mark Domingo as a recent convert to Islam who was seeking to avenge last month's New Zealand mosque shootings. The 26-year-old suspect was arrested last week and charged with scheming to plant bombs at a white nationalist rally in a Long Beach park. Rod Rosenstein is leaving the Justice Department. The Deputy Attorney General came to prominence after he appointed special counsel Robert Mueller in 2017. Rosenstein oversaw Mueller's investigation for the next year and a half. May 11th will be his last day on the job. Deputy Transportation Secretary Jeffrey Rosen has been nominated to succeed him as the DOJ. Closer to home, a 43-year-old Billings man accused of driving drunk and crashing into a Billings school bus, sending one teenager to the hospital, now faces a DUI charge. Jeremy Bernhardt was arrested after his Toyota Tundra slammed into the back of a First Student school bus at the intersection of Bench Boulevard South and Anchor Avenue on Monday afternoon. Police say one teenage girl was transported with minor injuries. Sergeant Brett Becker says the bus, coming from Skyview, had its flashing lights on for about a block before it came to a complete stop and the pickup rammed into it. The remaining students were transferred to a different bus and were dropped off about an hour later than normal. Bernhardt has since posted bond and it is out of jail. A Kalispell man accused of killing a 15-year-old girl after driving drunk into her home made his first court appearance. 31-year-old Jared Parsons is charged with vehicular homicide while under the influence. Flathead County investigators say Parsons drove his Dodge pickup truck into the house on Spring Creek Drive around 2 a.m. Friday. 15-year-old Erin Hauk died in the crash while she was sleeping. Parsons faces up to 30 years in prison and a fine of up to $50,000 if convicted. His bond was set at $500,000 on Monday. A 6-year-old Wyoming girl is dead after she was hit by a school bus last week. Sheridan police say Esperanza Lagunas Arstad was trying to chase after her school bus last Monday, but somehow went down and she was struck. She had been in a coma, but the school sent out an announcement on Saturday about her death. The district says extra counselors have been brought in for students. In a statement, the girl's family says it is thankful for the outpouring of community support. Authorities have released the name of the man who died when the boat he was in capsized near Helena in Upper Holter Lake. Lewis and Clark County authorities have identified the victim as 63-year-old Craig Brissell of Pacific, Missouri. The coroner says Brissell was not wearing a life jacket. It happened after 3 boats left on an outfitted fishing trip and one began to take on water. Another turned back to assist. When they tried to bring the passengers from the sinking boat on board, the second boat also capsized. 5 others were rescued and treated and released at the hospital. The investigation is still ongoing, but authorities say all indications point to weather as the cause. The woman who was found dead below the Billings rims on Sunday has been identified. 60-year-old Julie Kibler of Billings was found by a citizen who then called police. She died from blunt force trauma after an apparent fall from the rims. It's not known when or how she fell, but foul play is not suspected. New details say the student who fired a gun out the window of a University of Montana dorm was highly intoxicated when the incident happened. The male was turned in to campus police by his mother. There he admitted to police he fired the gun. The student said he borrowed the gun from a friend. Police found casings but no gun after a search of the room. Months after copper wire was cut from dozens of Billings street lights, costing taxpayers thousands of dollars in repairs, police identified a suspect. Police cited Damien Ochbond after he was seen on video stealing copper wire from light poles in Billings. Police found him with a backpack filled with copper wire. A crime such as this is raising new questions about how thieves make money off stolen copper wire. Q2's Andrea Lutz spoke to a local recycling company to get a better idea.
Like I-beams or tubing or rebar.
Crunching, smashing.
This machine's running, that one's running.
All of this just another day at Pacific Steel's recycling yard.
It's kind of a fun place.
Jason Heath shows me it all.
Most days.
But of all the things people bring in to recycle,
Copper's the higher valued commodity, so that's one people are probably going to choose to go after most.
A commodity valued to thieves, so he watches for something he calls
That's a pretty big red flag. So if somebody would bring in a spool of something like this, that's not a contractor, that's an immediate red flag to us.
It's usually stolen from construction sites and downtown buildings, most recently taken from the light poles of some of Billings' most traveled streets.
We don't want to take stolen items, we don't want to buy from those kind of people.
Usually brought in here for that quick cash.
Do you ask them where they got it?
If those big quantities, we will ask them as kind of one of those preventative measures. And obviously, if they start getting fidgety, or a common one is I found at my grandpa's barn.
In good faith, Pacific Steel checks for ID and tracks every item.
We try to combat it the best we can, but at the same time, we can't question every customer what they're bringing in.
You might think such a petty crime would be easy to crack.
It's not serialized. It's been stripped from, the plastic cabling that would help identify it.
And because the amount of copper caught at a time is usually so small, officers are bound by the constraints of the law, handing over only a misdemeanor citation with the hope the suspected thief will show up in court. Instead, what police say is the biggest loss.
Quality of life offenses, streetlights that aren't working, you have facilities that don't have power anymore. It's much like the broken windows theory, graffiti in a neighborhood.
A big flag.
So Heath finds himself still watching closely.
Once again, very industry specific.
For those red flags.
And police say there is a recurring theme when it comes to crimes like this, and it's all related back to the Billings drug scene. Montana Department of Transportation officials are meeting with the public to gather ideas on ways to improve the railroad crossing at North 27th Street in Billings. A 2016 study identified the crossing as one that needs improvements. It's often a source of frustration for Billings residents. According to the Montana Department of Transportation, on average, close to 15,000 cars cross the tracks on 27th per day. MDT wants to do one of three things to change the crossing. They could bring traffic over the tracks with a 2-lane overpass, or move traffic under the tracks with either a 2-lane tunnel or a 2-lane underpass. They're still in the process of gathering public comment from citizens and businesses on which one might be the right option for Billings.
And what we want to do is turn the crank a little bit more, add more data into the bucket, and get the Tier 2 analysis down into what we want to call the Tier 3 analysis, that the outcome of that would be a single preferred alternative, either an overpass or an underpass, that we would come back and present to the public and how we got there with the information that we have.
The next step for officials is to go through public comment and communicate with local businesses in the area to decide which crossing is right for Billings. The Montana Supreme Court has upheld a lower court's ruling that opens the door for expanded abortion services in the state. The court's decision allows advanced practice nurses and nurse midwives to continue to provide abortion care without the threat of criminal prosecution. The 4-3 decision upholds an injunction granted by a Helena district judge in April of last year, barring enforcement of the state law, allowing only physicians and physician assistants to perform the procedure. The case was filed by the ACLU of Montana and the Center for Reproductive Rights.
As you know, we're a very rural state. Some people have to travel nearly 200 miles to reach an abortion clinic. And so many people get their primary health care from an advanced practice clinician that is not a doctor. And they provide good quality services, and Montanans should be able to get the full array of health care from those providers, including abortion.
While abortion rights supporters are calling the Montana Supreme Court's decision a win, it is still only temporary at this point. The case remains pending in the First Judicial District Court in Lewis and Clark County. There's an uncertain future for preschool providers around Montana. This after lawmakers voted down a state funding proposal. MTM's Jonathan Berrien tells us what existing programs are looking to do.
In 2017, the Montana legislature approved $6 million in funding as a 2-year pilot program to expand access to preschool in the state. 18 public and private providers eventually received grants through the STARS preschool program. The Helena School District used the money to start a 16-student preschool class at Hawthorne Elementary School. In the East Helena School District, the grant went toward an 18-seat class at Eastgate Elementary. District leaders said they were impressed with how the preschool program got kids school ready.
It's a program that actually prepares kids, just gets that sponge oriented right so that it's ready to accept knowledge and the education that we'll provide in kindergarten, first, second, third, all the way through the grades.
Extending state preschool funding became a major issue through the last day of this year's legislative session. But in the end, lawmakers couldn't reach an agreement to either expand the program or continue the STARS preschool funding. Both Helena Superintendent Tyler Ream and East Helena Superintendent Ron Whitmoyer have told MTN they won't be able to continue their preschool classes.
We looked at every conceivable rock we could turn over to come up with funding to do this. It's that important.
Whitmoyer says he's hopeful lawmakers will eventually be able to come up with a plan to again provide preschool funding.
They'll look, they'll talk, they'll discuss it, and they'll come back with a better idea next session. I'm pretty confident in that.
In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
And private providers tell us they will continue some operations thanks to grants.